Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. As I begin this recording, we are told by the President of the United States that it appears that the suspect in the killing of Charlie Kirk has been apprehended. As I am now recording, the press conference has not yet been held. They keep kicking it back. But it is important to note that it appears that it was the father of the shooter who actually made the connection, confronted his son, and then proceeded to make the arrangements for his son to turn himself in. We don't know all the details yet. What we do know is that this assassination has created a national trauma. There is good news and there is bad news. The good news is that without the media and tips coming from people, we might have never found the shooter. We don't know for sure, but we do know that all of the tips and revelations had a huge impact on ultimately a picture being taken, provided, and then, hard to believe, but his father turned him in, if that's the true story. We also heard the heartwarming story that Barbra Streisand, a great liberal advocate, has agreed to pay the health and education fees for Charlie Kirk's two children, thus alleviating the family from that feeling of, future responsibility and anguish. This is not a liberal or a conservative issue. This is an issue which affects every American. This wound within is something that needs to be addressed and is being addressed. And when you find people on all levels working together, it's a great thing. We have heard that American politicians, public figures, are a little bit more concerned about public appearances. And there is no doubt this is going to have an impact. Members of Congress want greater security. Candidates for political office are concerned, and rightly so. We know that in the United States of America, the political differences should be settled at the ballot box. It should be settled through great public debate. It should be settled through the process that we know as our American political process. Sometimes a shock to the system, like the assassination of Charlie Kirk, can make a positive difference. Let me say that I had many differences with Charlie Kirk, certainly politically, philosophically. And there is no doubt, and I think I used the analogy with you yesterday, but I'm happy to use it again, of the attempted assassination by Arthur Bremer of George Wallace. Nobody in this country who listened carefully, nobody mistook George Wallace's advocacy for racism over many years as something that, it was a fact of American political life. We don't know the story of this shooter yet, but I can tell you there will be much said. And the fact that he's alive, the fact that he will have a trial, the fact that the American people will hear from a disturbed individual why he was motivated to do what he did, that is going to be another lesson for American democracy. And it's something I'm going to pay very close attention to. As we enter this weekend with so many issues confronting us, we know that at least the American justice system is working. If, in fact, as the president suggests, the killer is captured, there will be reams of material that we will learn about what motivates somebody to do such a horrific thing. Quick word about the rest of the world. Although we are on pause because of the assassination, let's be clear that around the world, the tragedy in the Ukraine continues to dominate the news of Europe. There is no doubt about it. There is genuine concern about Vladimir Putin, how he proceeds, and what he's doing. And certainly in the Middle East, with the attack in Qatar by Israeli forces, there is greater concern about the hostages, How do we get them out? What do we do? And in Israel, there is a real, genuine concern that the world, doesn't seem to really get on board when it comes to the tragedy which is unfolding there. For Palestinians around the world, this will also be a critical moment. Can their leadership rise to the occasion? And I'm speaking now about the Palestinian Authority, not Hamas, to try to deal with this major issue. And domestically, we have many, many questions which are being raised, from immigration judges being fired to rumors about what is or is not available in terms of vaccines. All of these issues rise to the occasion of concern by the American people. One of the things that I learned yesterday, sitting around at a reunion of a few of us who worked at KGO Radio, was our regret that there is not that public forum, that talk radio forum, which at least we know had a huge impact, reflecting on September 11th and the anniversary, which we must remember and must continue to absorb its terrible tragedy. It was impossible for me not to remember that on that day, Gene Burns, my colleague, was in Tahiti. He was not well, and I was called to fill in at KGO when the first microphone was opened locally for comment. It was one of the most difficult yet important programs I ever had the ability to conduct. It had to do with getting reaction from people to an incomprehensible tragedy. One of the other tragedies that we learned, and we discussed this yesterday, is the question of why there is no forum for talk radio today. There ought to be. There ought to be. Here in Northern California, I had the pleasure of appearing for about an hour on MZ, that's Zwirling's broadcast, his radio station, out of Santa Cruz. And it was, again, an important vehicle for us to be able to talk about the assassination and the concerns that we all have. So maybe one of the things that will come out of all of this is we need more public expression. We need more talk radio. We need more places for people to go to speak. And certainly the fact that the public played such a critical role in capturing the presumed shooter, assassin, in this case, proves the value of the public airwaves. We're going to watch this weekend. There'll be so much going on, and we'll be back on Monday with more to talk about, without any question. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which is, of course, our goal. You can interact with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and many of you email me directly. It's a pleasure. And to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this podcast, who offers great suggestions, I want to say thank you. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday with more of Around the Political World with John Rothman. See you then.